Then it can be a tourist center. Just go around, you know. Nature is beautiful, and just look at everywhere, so beautiful, so cool. Then it's a source of revenue to the government. The tourist center, you don't go there for free, you have to drop something. So that brings in money to the purse of the government. Now, the common species of ornamental trees, shrubs, and flowers. I'll just be mentioning some of them, and then you just see their pictures here. So, ornamental trees. Trees that are ornamental, we have the frangipani, the neem cassia, royal palm, and sarcina around you. Then flame of forest, that is also common. Balsam, Indian, almond, Delonis is also a common one. Then so casuarina is also another ornamental tree. Then we have the next one, ornamental shrubs. You know, trees, shrubs are different. Trees are very tall, while shrubs are of average height. Then we have alamander, we have crotons, izora is also one that's also common around you. Cauliflower, we have hakalifa, hibiscus flower. Wild rose is also another one. Bougainvillea. So those are examples of ornamental shrubs. Now, to the ornamental flowers, we have the Justicia, Morning Glory, Crotalaria, Water Lettuce, Passion Flower, Commelina, we have the Sunflower, we have the Clitoria, the Marigold. So those are ornamental flowers. Now, cultivation of ornamental trees and flowers. What are the procedures involved? The first thing to consider is the choice of site. Choose your site. Okay, where do I want to use for this? Then you get your planting material. Do you want to use seed? Do you want to use the stem of the plant? Or what do you want to use to plant it? Then the method of cultivation. You may use your nursery. Prepare nursery beds for the flower before you plant it to where it will really be permanently, or you can do direct sowing of the seed into the soil, or stem cutting, the cutting of the stem, just put it in the soil. Also, some people use nylon bags to plant, but that will not be a temporary, it will just be a temporary one before they transplant. Or use of pots, you know, in some offices, some homes, some churches, some places just have pots all around. So do you want to plant it in pots? That's another thing you should consider in cultivating ornamental trees. Then provision of shade, at least when the plants are still young, so that the sun does not just scorch it and kill it. So you just get something to cover it. You know, so most times those nurseries are prepared under trees. So the trees provide shade for the flowers. Then you use loamy soil or organic manure so that it will grow fast. Then regular watering. That's one thing flower needs, especially when they are still in their very tender stages. So you have to water it every morning and probably evening. Then regular weeding, so they don't compete with your plants. Weeds are very stubborn, so you have to keep removing them so that your flower will germinate. Now, where do we get planting materials? That's the sources of planting materials. First, established private horticultural gardens. Now, there are horticultural gardens around. When you move around in big cities or even in towns, you see places where people plant a lot of ornamental plants and they put their phone number. If somebody is even there, you can ask, okay, I want to get this also flowers in this quantity. So that's a place you can get. Then higher institutions, botanical gardens. Various higher institutions have their botanical gardens. We have the Bafemi Awolowo University Botanical Gardens. We have the University of Ibadan Botanical Gardens. The University of Agriculture and Botanical Gardens. So you have the various botanical gardens in their institutions. So you can go to those botanical gardens to get your planting material, either seeds or stems of flowers to plant. Then another place you can get your planting material is government-owned horticultural centers. Now, this is different from the private one. Now, this is a government-established horticultural center. Then you can also get planting materials from private houses and offices. Also, you can also import ornamental flowers from abroad, just bring them into the countries. Then another place you can get planting material is resort or recreational centers. You can get planting materials from there. How do you maintain horticultural plants or flowers? First, you provide shades for it to germinate first. Regular watering, every morning, every evening, you water it. Regular weeding that will compete with the nutrients. You can add fertilizers. Then you can fence it to prevent intrusion from animals or even human beings. Then regular pruning to make it look beautiful and to grow more. So that's the cutting of the stem or cutting of some part of the flower. That is called regular pruning. So that is about floriculture, about talking about ornamental plants. Now, the next topic we'll be looking at is diseases and pests of crops. Diseases and pests of crops. Plant disease is a departure or deviation of a plant from the normal state of health, presenting marked symptoms or outward visible signs. So when there is a deviation or departure from healthy or normal living, and you begin to see some symptoms and some signs that is showing that, then we say that plant is diseased. And two causes of diseases, we have pathogens and physiological factors. Pathogens are disease-causing living organisms, which include viruses, bacteria, fungi, and nematodes. While physiological factors may be physical, may be chemical, may be environmental. For instance, there is nutrient deficiency, there is heat, there is too much of fertilizer, there is inorganic salt, there is water and excess water and things like that. So those are physiological factors, and they also can lead to diseases. Now, we're talking about selected diseases of crops. I'm mentioning some diseases, what the causal organism, mode of transmission, the symptoms, and the ways to prevent or control them. So the first in that category is maize smoth, and it is caused by a fungus called Usilago maydis. It is transmitted through hair. It is airborne. That is, the fungus spore, the spores produced by the fungus, once wind just blow it like this, you just spread it to other plants. And what you will notice as a farmer is that there will be reduced yield, then there will be galls on the hairs and leaves of the plant, which will later turn black. How do you prevent maize smoth? You destroy the diseased plant. Once you notice in a plant, you destroy it, else it will spread to other plants because it is airborne. So once wind blows like this, the plants that the spores touch will eventually get it. So you destroy the diseased plant, then you use resistant varieties of seed, then treat your seed before you plant them. The next disease is rice blight, also caused by a fungus, but this time the fungus is called Pericularia oryza. It's also airborne on the leaves. What you notice as symptoms, there will be small longitudinal red spots on leaves of the plant, which will turn grey or brown. Also, the yield will be reduced. The yield of rice will be reduced. How do you prevent or control rice blight? First, you use clean seeds. Then you avoid heavy use of nitrogen fertilizers. We have mentioned earlier what nitrogen fertilizers are. So avoid heavy use of nitrogen fertilizers. Then use resistant varieties. The next disease of crop is maize rust, also caused by a fungus called Puccinia polypsora. It's also airborne. The fungus spores are deposited on the leaves of the plant. It causes reduced yield and red spots on the leaves, and eventually will lead to the death of the crop. How do you prevent or control maize rust? Early planting, you plant the crops early, then you do crop rotation, you use resistant varieties of maize. The next disease is Cercospora. Cercospora is a leaf spot of cowpea. It's caused by a fungus and it is transmitted through the wind. The symptoms you notice in the cowpea that has Cercospora is there will be reddish brown spots on the leaf. Then you find lesions on the leaves. There will also be chlorosis. Then dropping or falling of leaves. How do you control it? First, you spray the leaves of the plant or the plant with fungicides. Then you do crop rotation so that the crop you plant the last season that brought it is not the same thing you are planting this time around, so you don't establish the disease. Then you plant resistant variety of cowpea. The next one is Rossetti disease of granules. This is a virus. It's caused by a virus, and it is transmitted by the piercing and sucking of insects, particularly aphid. The symptoms you see on a diseased granule having rosette is that there will be yellow leaves with mosaic molting. There will be stunted plants with curled leaves. The leaves will be curled. Then there will be wilting and death of the plants. There will be shortening. The internodes will be reduced. How do you control Rossetti disease of granules? There will be